You're reaching for your keys when you hear it. Excuse me, the voice is shaking. Not scared shaking. Something else. Something that makes your stomach drop before you even turn around. You turn. Mid-30s. Glasses. Holding a journal like it's a sacred text. Eyes that haven't blinked in what feels like a full minute. And they're looking at you the way people look at monuments. Like you're not a person, like you're a place. I need to thank you, they say. And their voice cracks on thank, like the word is too heavy for their throat. You smile. That automatic smile you give strangers. The one that says, I'm friendly, but please don't be weird. I think you have me confused with someone else, you say, already turning back to your car. No. Firm now. Certain. No, I don't. You're the one from Cafe Milagro. 3 years ago. November. It was raining. Your hand freezes on the door handle. You haven't thought about Cafe Milagro in years. You're not even sure you remember November 3 years ago. November is just November. Rain is just rain. I don't. You start. You changed my entire life. They interrupt. And they're crying now. Actual tears. Everything I am now, everything I've built, everyone I've helped, it all started with what you told me. You're standing in a parking lot, 4:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You were supposed to pick up groceries. You were thinking about whether you needed milk. And now someone is crying because of something you apparently said 3 years ago in a coffee shop you barely remember. I'm sorry, you say, and you mean it. I really don't remember. 6 words, they say. And they're opening the journal now. Pages and pages of handwriting. You said 6 words to me, and those 6 words saved me. You want to leave. Every instinct is screaming to get in your car and drive away. But there's something about the way they're looking at you, like you're the answer to a question they've been asking their entire life. What did I say, you ask, and immediately regret it. Because they smile. This massive breaking open smile, like you just confirmed something they've spent years hoping was true. You don't remember? It's not a question. That makes it even more perfect. They tell you the story. And they tell it like scripture. It was November 14th, 2:47 p.m. They remember the time because they'd been watching the clock trying to decide if it was too early to give up on the day completely. They'd been sitting in Cafe Milagro for 3 hours. Laptop open, cursor blinking, coffee cold. They were supposed to be working on something important. They won't say what, but instead they were drowning. That's the word they use. Drowning, not sad, not depressed. Drowning. They'd been drowning for months, maybe years. They'd forgotten what it felt like to want to be awake. They'd been running on autopilot so long they couldn't remember who was flying the plane anymore. And then you walked in. They describe your entrance like it's a movie scene. The way the door opened, the sound of rain against glass, the way you shook water from your jacket, the way you ordered. They remember your order, what you were wearing, how you sounded when you asked if they were still serving sandwiches, even though it was past lunch. You don't remember any of this. You went to Cafe Milagro, maybe twice in your life. You don't remember November 14th, 3 years ago. You don't remember rain. You definitely don't remember someone sitting with a laptop, looking like they were drowning. But they remember you like you're carved into their nervous system. They say you sat at the table next to them. not across from them, next to them. Close enough that when you opened your own laptop, they could hear your keyboard clicking. They say they felt your presence before they saw your face. They say something about you was different. The way you breathed, the way you existed, like you were operating on a frequency they'd forgotten existed. They're using words like frequency and presence and energy, and you're starting to understand that this isn't a normal thank you. This is something else. They say they sat there for 20 minutes, working up the courage to speak to you. They'd never done anything like that before. They weren't the type to talk to strangers. But something about you made them feel like maybe, just maybe, you'd understand. So they turned to you. And they asked you a question. They won't tell you what the question was. They say it doesn't matter. They say the question was just an excuse. The real question was deeper. The real question was, does it get better? Does any of this mean anything? Am I allowed to stop pretending? And you looked up from your laptop. They described this moment in excruciating detail. The way you looked at them. Not through them, not past them, at them, like you actually saw them. Like you could see the drowning. And you said 6 words. They're whispering now. Reverent, like speaking the words too loud would shatter them. You don't owe anyone your light. You don't owe anyone your light. They let it hang in the air. But you said that to me, they continue. And then you smiled. And then you went back to your laptop like you just commented on the weather. They're crying again. Those 6 words, they say. They broke something open in me, like you'd found the exact sentence I'd been waiting my entire life to hear. Like you'd reached into my chest and turned on a switch I didn't know I had. You're staring at them. You're trying to remember. You're searching your memory for Cafe Milagro, for November, for rain, for a stranger with a laptop who looked like they were drowning. Nothing. Absolute nothing. But then something flickers. Wait. Wait. Huh? There was a day. You think? Maybe 3 years ago. Maybe November. You'd gone to some coffee shop you'd never been to before, because your usual place was closed. You were stressed about something. Work? Family? You don't remember. But you remember being in a bad mood. You remember wanting to be left alone. And someone did talk to you. You remember that now. But someone at the next table. They'd asked you something. You don't remember what. You remember being annoyed. You remember wanting to get back to your work. You remember saying something. You don't remember what, just to end the conversation politely so you could get back to whatever you were doing. And then they'd left you alone. That's it. That's your memory. Annoyed, distracted, a polite brush off, disguised as conversation. You weren't trying to save anyone. You weren't operating on a different frequency. You weren't seeing their soul. You were trying to finish an email before your laptop died and you'd forgotten your charger. I'm glad that helped you. You say carefully, but I have to be honest. I don't remember it the way you do. They nod. I know. That's what makes it perfect. No, I mean, you're trying to find the right words. I don't think I wasn't trying to. You don't have to have been trying, they interrupt. That's the whole point. You just said what was true. You didn't perform it. You didn't package it. You just said it. And because it wasn't a performance, it was real. They tell you what happened after. After you said those 6 words and went back to your laptop and eventually left without saying goodbye, they sat there for another hour, just sitting, breathing, feeling something shift. You don't owe anyone your light. They turned it over in their mind, examined it from every angle, and slowly, quietly, it started dismantling everything they'd built their life around. They'd spent 37 years giving their light away, to jobs that drained them, to people who demanded it, to systems that promised fulfillment in exchange for compliance. They dimmed themselves so many times they'd forgotten they were capable of brightness. But those 6 words gave them permission. Permission to stop. Permission to choose. Permission to say no. Permission to exist without justification. They went home that night and quit their job. Just like that. Sent an email at 11 p.m. Didn't give 2 weeks. Didn't explain. Just, I'm done. They ended a relationship that had been suffocating them for 2 years. They stopped answering calls from family members who only called to take. They deleted social media. They moved cities. They started over. I rebuilt my entire life, they say, based on those 6 words. And they didn't stop there. They started telling other people. At first, just friends, then friends of friends, then strangers who looked like they needed to hear it. They started a blog, then a newsletter, then a community. They're explaining this to you in the parking lot, and you're realizing with growing horror that this is bigger than you thought. How many people? You ask. Well, in the community? They smile. Last count, about 4,000 people. And they all know the story, they say. They all know about the stranger in the coffee shop who said the thing that needed to be said. Most of them call you the witness. Some call you the voice. There's a whole debate about whether you were an actual person or some kind of manifestation. You feel sick. I'm not a guru, you say. I'm not? I don't even remember saying that. That's what makes it perfect, they repeat. And they're glowing now. Absolutely glowing. You weren't trying to start anything. You weren't trying to teach anyone. You just existed authentically for 3 seconds, and it created ripples you'll never fully see. They show you their journal. They show you their journal. The pages and pages of interpretation, analysis, expansion. They've taken your 6 words and built a philosophy around them. You don't owe anyone your light. They've broken it down. You radical ownership of self. Don't owe a rejection of obligation-based existence. Anyone liberation from collective expectation. Your light recognition of inherent value. They've written essays. They've created frameworks. They've developed practices and rituals and community guidelines, all based on the principle that humans are not obligated to diminish themselves for others' comfort. And it's good. You hate that it's good. Huh? The philosophy is actually solid, healthy, even. It's about boundaries and self-worth and authentic existence. It's about rejecting martyrdom. It's about understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup, that self-preservation isn't selfish, that your existence doesn't require justification. You agree with all of it, but you didn't mean any of it. Not in the way they think you did. What do you actually remember, they ask. They ask, you take a breath. But I remember being in a bad mood. You say honestly. I remember someone interrupting me. I remember wanting to get back to my work. I remember saying something I don't even remember what, just to be polite so they'd leave me alone. They're silent. I wasn't trying to change your life, you continue. I wasn't trying to teach you anything. I was probably thinking about my email, or my sandwich, or whether I needed to get gas on the way home. More silence. I'm sorry, you say. I know that's not the story you wanted, but they're smiling. That same massive, breaking open smile. Don't you see, they say? That makes it better. You weren't performing enlightenment. You weren't selling wisdom. You were just a tired person in a coffee shop who said something true without even thinking about it. That's the whole point. Truth doesn't require intention. Impact doesn't require awareness. You existed authentically for 3 seconds and it mattered. You drive home in silence. You don't know what to feel. Part of you is angry. They've built something massive around a moment you don't even remember. They've turned you into a symbol without your permission. They've created a mythology around 6 words you said while distracted and annoyed. Part of you is uncomfortable. Because what if they're right? What if intent doesn't matter? What if you did change someone's life, and 4,000 other lives just by existing carelessly for 3 seconds? Part of you is terrified. Because if that's true, what else have you done without knowing? What other casual comments have become someone's gospel? What other throwaway moments have altered trajectories you'll never see? That night, you try to remember exactly what you were thinking in that coffee shop. You were stressed. You remember that. Something about work. A deadline, maybe. You were behind on something. You'd gone to Cafe Milagro because you needed to get out of your apartment, needed a change of scenery, needed to feel like you were doing something even if you weren't. Someone had interrupted you, asked you something. You don't remember what, but you remember the feeling. You remember being tired. Tired of performing. Tired of pretending. Tired of being what everyone needed you to be. Tired of explaining yourself. Tired of justifying your existence. And maybe that's what came out. Maybe in that moment of exhaustion, when you were too tired to be polite, too drained to perform, too empty to pretend, maybe that's when you said something true. You don't owe anyone your light. Maybe you were talking to yourself. 2 weeks later, you receive a package. No return address. Inside, a book, hand-bound. Beautiful. Pages thick and textured. The cover is simple. Embossed letters. The Witness, collected teaching. You open it. The first page. This book is a compilation of wisdom attributed to the Witness, a stranger who appeared in a coffee shop in November 2021 and spoke 6 words that changed everything. The Witness asked for nothing, taught nothing intentionally, and disappeared without ceremony. This is not a biography. The Witness remains unknown. This is simply what emerged from a moment of truth. You flip through. There are your 6 words. And then, hundreds of pages of interpretation, expansion, application, stories from community members about how the philosophy changed them. Letters to the Witness thanking you for something you don't remember doing. There's a chapter titled, The Ethics of Accidental Teaching. There's a section analyzing the significance of the coffee shop as liminal space. There's a debate about whether the Witness intended to teach or whether truth simply emerged. You should be angry. You should be horrified. But instead, you're sitting on your floor at 2 a.m., reading a book about yourself written by people who don't know you, based on 6 words you said while thinking about email, and you're crying because they're not wrong. You don't owe anyone your light. You never did. Maybe you said it to them. Maybe you said it to yourself. Maybe there's no difference. Maybe intent doesn't matter at all. Maybe impact is its own truth. Maybe the most important things we do are the things we're too tired to perform. Maybe authenticity only emerges when we're too exhausted to fake it. Maybe the moments we don't remember are the ones that matter most. You never contact them again. You never reach out to the community. You never confirm or deny the mythology, because the moment you do, it becomes a performance. The moment you acknowledge it, it becomes intentional. And intention would ruin everything. Somewhere, 4,000 people are living differently because of 6 words you said while distracted. Somewhere, someone is setting a boundary because they heard a story about a stranger in a coffee shop. Somewhere, someone is choosing themselves because they learned they don't owe anyone their light. And you're here, ordinary, flawed, still forgetting to buy milk, still saying things without thinking, still existing carelessly, while people turn your carelessness into meaning, still wondering, does it matter what you intended? Does it matter what you remember? Does it matter if you were profound or just tired? Or does it only matter that someone heard exactly what they needed, exactly when they needed it, from exactly the person they needed to hear it from, even if that person doesn't remember being that person at all? You don't know. You might never know. But somewhere in a coffee shop right now, someone is drowning, and someone else is about to say something without thinking. And maybe, just maybe, those 6 careless words will be exactly what saves them, and neither person will remember it the same way. And both versions will be true.
They sat by the phone, didn't they? Waiting. They checked their messages, expecting to see your name pop up. They waited for the apology that was never going to come. See, they had this whole script written out in their heads. In their version of the story, you were supposed to fall apart without them. You were supposed to be lost, confused, wandering in the dark, desperate for their light to guide you back home. They thought they were the oxygen in your lungs. They thought they were the ground beneath your feet. But then hours turned into days, days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into silence, dead silence. That's when the panic started to set in for them, isn't it? Because the script, the one they wrote, where you come crawling back, begging for a second chance, it didn't happen. Instead, they looked up and saw you standing. Not just standing, but rising. They expected you to sink like a stone in the ocean, but you learned how to swim. And that scares them more than anything else in this world. You ever look at them, really look at them, and wonder why they held on so tight? It wasn't love. Don't kid yourself. It was control. They needed you to need them. It fed their ego. It made them feel big, made them feel powerful, knowing that your happiness, your stability, your very life depended on their approval. They clipped your wings, feather by feather, and then convinced you that you didn't know how to fly. They told you the sky was too dangerous. They told you that you were too small, too fragile, too weak to face the storm alone. And for a long time, you believed them. You played the part. You walked in their shadow, grateful for the shade. But then something snapped. Maybe it was a lie they told. Maybe it was the disrespect. Or maybe you just woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and didn't recognize the person staring back. You realized that the cage wasn't locked. It never was. You just had to push the door open. And when you did, when you finally walked out that door, they laughed. Oh, they laughed. They told their friends, give it a week, he'll be back, she'll break. They bet on your failure. They sat there with their popcorn, waiting for the crash. But you didn't crash. You didn't stumble. You adjusted your collar, looked at the horizon, and you started walking. And you kept walking. You showed them that their absence wasn't a death sentence. It was a liberation. See, they thought they were your anchor, holding you safe in the harbor. But they weren't the anchor. They were the chains holding you down while the tide was rising. And now that you've cut those chains, you're floating, you're moving, and they are stuck in the same miserable spot where you left them. That's the funny thing about people who need to be needed. They are parasites. They feed on your energy, your potential, your light. And when the host finally detaches, the parasite starves. Look at them now. Are they happy? Are they thriving? No, they're bitter, they're confused, they're telling everyone who will listen that you changed. Oh, he's arrogant now. She thinks she's better than us. Let them talk. Let them whisper their poison in the dark. It doesn't reach you up here. You know the truth. You didn't change into something bad. You just stopped being useful to them. You stopped being a battery for their ego. And to a user, a tool that stops working is useless. But you are not a tool, you are a weapon. And you just realized your safety was on the whole time. You walked through the fire they set, thinking it would burn you alive, but you didn't burn, you were forged. You came out the other side made of steel. They look at you now, and they don't see the person they used to manipulate. They see a stranger, a dangerous stranger, because there is nothing, and I mean nothing, more dangerous to a manipulator than a person who is happy alone, a person who finds peace in solitude. Because if you can be happy alone, they have nothing to offer you. They have no leverage. They can't dangle love like a carrot on a stick. Because you grow your own food now. You don't need their scraps. You feast on your own success. They thought you were weak because you were kind. That's a mistake a lot of people make. They mistake silence for submission. They mistake patience for weakness. They thought that because you gave so much, you were empty inside, but they didn't realize that you gave because you were overflowing. And now that you've directed that flow back into yourself, look at what you've built. Look at the strength you found. It was always there, buried under their expectations, buried under their insults, buried under their constant need to keep you small. But you dug it out with your bare hands. You clawed your way out of the grave they dug for you, and you stood up, dusted off the dirt, and smiled. That smile, that's what haunts them. If you had screamed, if you had fought, if you had sent angry texts, they would have loved it. It would have proved they still had power over you. It would have proved you still cared. But you didn't scream. You didn't fight. You just became indifferent. And indifference, my friend, is the ultimate insult. It's saying, you don't even matter enough for me to hate you. You are a ghost to me. You are a bad memory that is already fading. That kills them. It eats them alive from the inside out. They sit there analyzing your every move, stalking your social media, asking around about you. They are obsessed with the person they threw away. And you rarely even think of them. You're too busy building an empire, too busy leveling up, too busy becoming the person they said you could never be. The world is full of people like them, emotional vampires, energy thieves. They look for the bright ones, the kind ones, the ones with big hearts. And they latch on. They drain you until you're a husk. But you You're different. You survived the draining. You refilled the tank. And now you run on a different kind of fuel. You run on spite. You run on the pure, unadulterated joy of proving them wrong. Every success you have is a slap in their face. Every time you smile, it's a dagger in their heart. And the best part is, you aren't even doing it for them anymore. At first, maybe you were. Maybe at first you worked hard just to show them. But somewhere along the way, you fell in love with the process. You fell in love with the new you. You realize that needing people is a trap. Wanting people, loving people, that's fine. That's healthy. But needing them, depending on them for your self-worth, that is slavery. And you just broke your chains. They thought the cold would kill you when they kicked you out into the night, but you built a fire. They thought the silence would drive you mad, but you found clarity in the quiet. They thought you would starve without their validation, but you learned to hunt. You are a predator now, not in a malicious way, but in a way that takes ownership of your life. You don't wait for permission. You don't ask for forgiveness. You take what is yours. You carve your own path through the jungle, and if someone wants to walk with you, fine. They can keep up, but you will never, ever carry anyone on your back again. You drop the dead weight, and suddenly the climb became easy. You looked up at the mountain that seemed so high when they were dragging you down, and you realized it wasn't a mountain at all. It was just a hill, and you are standing at the top, looking down. Don't let them rewrite history. They will try. They will try to come back. Mark my words. When they see you shining, when they see you winning, the texts will come. The calls will come. I miss you. I was thinking about you. Can we talk? They'll come with their tails between their legs, acting like nothing happened, acting like they didn't try to destroy you. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can open the door. You can let the vampire back in. You can give them another chance to bleed you dry. Or you can remember the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Remember the feeling of worthlessness they planted in your chest. Remember the disrespect. And you can look at that phone, look at that message, and delete it. No response, no explanation, just silence. Because you don't need them. You never did. You were the prize. You were the gift. And they were too blind, too stupid, and too arrogant to see it until it was gone. Now, you belong to the road. You belong to the grind. You belong to the future. They are stuck in the past, replaying the glory days, wondering where it all went wrong. But you know where it went right. It went right the moment you realized you were enough, all by yourself, broken, scarred, tired, but enough. More than enough. You are a fortress, and they are just standing outside the walls, scratching at the gate, realizing they lost the keys. And the best part, you changed the locks, so keep walking. Don't look back. There is nothing there for you but ashes and dust. Look forward. Look at the life you are building. Look at the peace you have earned. They thought you needed them. They banked everything on that one fact, and you showed them the only truth that matters. The only person you ever needed was you. And now that you know that, now that you really truly know that deep in your bones, you are unstoppable. Let them watch from the sidelines. Let them regret. You have work to do. You see, the work doesn't stop just because the point is made. That's the mistake the average person makes. They get a little bit of revenge. They get a little bit of success, and then they stop. They think the finish line was proving them wrong, but you know better now. Proving them wrong wasn't the finish line. It was just the starting gun. Now the real race begins. And in this race, you are running against yourself. You are running against the version of you that used to tolerate their disrespect. That version is dead, buried deep in the soil of your past, and you have to make sure it stays dead. They are watching you from the distance now. Can you feel it? They are scrolling through your life on a screen, squinting at the light you emit, trying to find a crack in the armor. He's faking it, they whisper. She's just pretending to be happy. They tell themselves these lies to sleep at night because the alternative is too terrifying for them to accept. The alternative is accepting that they were the problem, that they were the anchor dragging down a ship built for speed. And now that the anchor is cut, the ship is disappearing over the horizon. They are left in the wake, tossing and turning in the waves you created just by moving forward. Let's talk about that independence. Real independence. It's not just about paying your own bills or walking alone. It's mental, it's psychological. It's the moment you walk into a room full of people and you don't scan the crowd looking for a friendly face. You don't look for someone to validate your presence. You walk in and you are complete. You carry your own atmosphere with you. You don't need their laughter to feel funny. You don't need their compliments to feel beautiful. You don't need their agreement to feel right. That is a level of power that makes weak people uncomfortable. They sense it. It's like a vibration when you don't need them. You become unpredictable. And as we said before, unpredictable is dangerous. Do you remember how hard you tried to fit into their box? You contorted yourself. You broke your own bones just to fit into the shape they wanted you to be. Be quieter. Be less ambitious. Don't dream so big, you'll just get hurt. They dressed their jealousy up as advice. They called it being realistic. But you know what reality is now. Reality is what you make it. Reality is the empire you are building brick by brick with the stones they threw at you. Every insult, every doubt, every time they left you on red, every time they rolled their eyes at your goals, you took that energy. You didn't let it poison you. You let it fuel you. You turned their hate into a nuclear reactor inside your chest. And now you have infinite energy. And the saddest part for them is that they could have been a part of it. They could have been there on the mountaintop with you if they had just been loyal, if they had just believed. But they chose the cheap thrill of betrayal. They chose the momentary satisfaction of putting you down. They traded a diamond for a handful of dirt, and now they have to live with that trade forever. Don't pity them. Pity is a waste of your emotional resources. Save your energy for the climb. The air gets thinner up here. It gets colder. Not everyone can breathe at this altitude. That's why you're alone. Not because you are unlovable, but because you have ascended to a place where they cannot survive. Eagles don't fly with pigeons, and lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. You showed them you didn't need them, but more importantly, you showed yourself. That was the real test, wasn't it? Deep down, in the darkest part of the night, you were scared. You wondered if maybe they were right. You wondered if maybe you were nothing without them. That fear is natural, but you faced it. You looked into the abyss of loneliness, and you realized it wasn't an abyss. It was a blank canvas, and you held the brush. You painted a life of discipline, of focus, of unwavering self-respect. You learned that the company of your own thoughts is better than the company of fake friends. You learned that a solitary walk in the morning is worth more than a crowded party at night. And now comes the phase they really aren't ready for, the acceleration. See, when you are carrying dead weight, you move slow. You have to stop and rest. You have to negotiate. But now you are streamlined. You are aerodynamic. Your growth in the next year will dwarf your growth in the last 10. They will look at you and say, you changed. changed. You're different. And you will look them in the eye and say, I didn't change. I just stopped pretending to be less than I am to make you feel comfortable. That is the dagger, because their comfort was always dependent on your suppression. They felt big only when you were on your knees. They felt smart only when you played dumb. They felt successful only when you were struggling. Their entire self-image was built on your back, and you stood up, and their world collapsed. It's funny how memory works. They will try to rewrite it. They will tell people, I helped him. I was there for her when no one else was. They will try to claim credit for your strength. They will say the hard times they put you through were lessons they taught you on purpose, as if they were some kind of wise teacher. Don't let them. They weren't teachers. They were obstacles. You don't thank the hurdle for the jump. You thank the legs that cleared it. You don't thank the fire for the sword. You thank the blacksmith who hammered it. And you. You are both the sword and the blacksmith. You hammered yourself into shape, strike after strike, night after night, when no one was watching, when there were no cameras, no applause, just you and the grind. That is why you don't need them, because they don't know the grind. They want the glory, but they don't want the guts. They want the view from the top, but they don't want the bloody hands from the climb. You have the bloody hands. You have the scars, and those scars are your credentials. They are the proof that you survived, proof that you don't need a savior. You saved yourself. So when the world tries to tell you that you need a team, that you need a partner, that you need their approval to be valid, you laugh because you know the secret. The strongest team is a man and his purpose, a woman and her vision. Everything else is secondary. You walked away and you didn't look back like Lot's wife in the Bible. Looking back turns you to salt. It freezes you. It kills the momentum. You keep your eyes forward, focused on the next target, the next mission, because life is a series of missions, and you were stuck on a side quest with them, a glitchy, broken side quest that offered no reward. Now you are back on the main path, the path of destiny, the path of greatness, and the path is narrow. There isn't room for them on it. There isn't room for their drama. There isn't room for their doubts. There is only room for you and the immense potential you carry. They thought you would beg. Think about that. They really thought that you would debase yourself, that you would trade your dignity for their attention. How little they must have thought of you. How small they must have seen you. That is the ultimate insult and the ultimate motivation. Every time you feel tired, every time you want to quit, remember that they are waiting for it. They are waiting for you to stumble so they can say, I told you so. I told you he couldn't make it without me. Don't give them that satisfaction. Starve them. Starve them of your failure. Feed them nothing but your success. Force feed it to them. Make it so big, so bright, so undeniable that they choke on it. You are the storm now. They used to be the rain that ruined your day, but you grew, you expanded, and now you are the hurricane, and they are just leaves blowing in the wind. You control the weather of your life. You decide when the sun shines. You decide when the thunder rolls, and you have decided that the forecast is victory every single day. Victory over the past, victory over the pain, victory over the need to be needed. So let them stay where they are, stuck in the mud of their own mediocrity, talking about the good old days. You don't have good old days. You have better days ahead. You have a future that is so bright it burns their eyes to look at it. They thought you needed them. God, how wrong they were. You needed to lose them. That was the only thing you actually needed. Losing them was the key that unlocked the handcuffs. Losing them was the medicine that cured the sickness. You are healthy now. You are strong now. You are free. And freedom, true freedom, is dangerous. It's wild. It's lonely at times, but it is real. No more masks, no more scripts, no more begging. Just you standing tall, walking away into a future that belongs entirely to you. Walk, just walk, and let the sound of your footsteps be the only goodbye they ever get.